Fresh meat.
So I actually got to see The Banishing a little while ago for a screener before it came out. So really enjoyed it. I think something that I thought was really interesting, it was part ghost story, historic tragedy, religious thriller. I mean, there's even maybe a little hint of Indiana Jones 3 influence. I don't know. Maybe that's what I took.
Yeah, a little bit.
So can I ask you, like, what got you involved in The Banishing? Was this already set up by the time you came aboard, or is this something that you had influence on?
Yeah, I got involved about 3 years ago, maybe even earlier than that, where I read the script and realized I hadn't done a traditional horror movie and traditional ghost story, which is how the script was at the time. But it was set in 1937, and so the rise of fascism, and at the time, obviously politically, the world was going through it still is a very strange upheaval, and I felt that it was relevant to try and bring some of that more to the fore. That wasn't in the script as much. In fact, there was no real mention of the rise of fascism, and not even really World War II. So I just tried to make sure that the film showed the sort of darker edge of what was also happening in that period, not just ghost stories, but the kind of the world itself was going through an upheaval. So that was the sort of influence I brought to the script, really, of trying to get more of that into it.
So another thing I think that is really solid is I think a movie like this kind of ride or dies on the casting, and the casting wise, it's masterful. The child, Anna McKenna Bruce, I believe, stole the show. Jessica Brown Findlay, if I'm saying that right, is an amazing lead. Honestly, I think the one who stole the show might have been Sean Harris. And I think
he's certainly trying to. I've worked with Sean before. That's his ambition on every film he works on. He's so brilliant, and he really loved the character Harry Reid. We spoke about it recently. His wife's actually the costume designer on my new film, so we caught up recently and having a chat about it. And he misses Harry. He likes the kind of. I mean, when we first spoke on the phone about the role, I'm a big fan of Coppola's Dracula. I love Anthony Hopkins, the way he chews up the scenery in that film, and and I said, and Sean said, maybe with Harry we can go quite big with it, Chris. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, because Harry is kind of a Van Helsing character in a way. So Sean said maybe I'm going to have red hair, and then suddenly came in with this just absolutely crazy haircut, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, we had a bit of fun with it. You're just trying to give him a sort of ageless, timeless quality where you don't really. He's almost the most. He's the progressive in the film. He's the liberal, if you like. He's the one who could exist now, whereas the others were very much locked in their period. And I think that was something that intrigued us both.
I guess pretty much the good guy. He wasn't a great guy. He was a drunk. He was kind of aggressive, but you're right though. He had his morals were probably the most on point out of anybody there.
Yeah, he was the least judgmental for sure.
Looking out such a great cast, is there anybody that may have not have always been in mind but blew you away? Because I know sometimes you have actors in mind for roles and it doesn't work out, but then you get somebody else and it kind of changes the role as is. Was there any sort of change like that in this movie?
No, I think, I've always been very lucky throughout my whole career I say luck, but it's luck. And also, I love actors. I think actors are, when I was growing up, I was just into movies. I wasn't really, into sports. I am now, but my heroes when I was growing up were actors and kind of, getting film magazines. And so I think that slightly feeds off on me that the first thing you need, apart from a good script is a good cast. And so, I think in this film, I've used John Lynch many times. John came in to play, the kind of father from the church, the other Machiavellian, and he came in at a real 11th hour for us. So John, but also Sean was a surprise on this one. Sean wasn't someone I expected to be able to have in the film. But I'm glad you mentioned Jess Brown Findlay, because Jess in the lead role manages to bring in a real sense of I don't know. There's a real fragility and a strength to her. And obviously today with woke horror, we've got a kind of, you've got to look, the new film, the new Halloween is, you need to walk a slightly different line now, which is good, but with your characters. And so I thought it was nice that Jess was very much a woman, and she had vulnerability, but she was also very strong, and she was fighting against the a system with the cards were really stacked against her. And I also wanted to look at that and say, look, people look back at this version of England, certainly in this country with things like Brexit happening, and they go, look, the good old days. That's what the good old days when women were put in asylums for not wanting to have a child,
talking out of turn. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we do the same thing in America, but I mean, everybody looks back at the 50s and it's like, I mean, but there's a lot of people that weren't having a good time in the 50s, so it wasn't really the good old days,
No, exactly. Yeah, the 50s when you'd won World War II, and then suddenly everyone had a job, but not everyone had a job.
No, they could get housing exactly. Either, yeah. This ends in a way where there are some ideas and plot points in this universe that could continue in interesting ways. Obviously, like you said, the thing about fascism, the Nazis, and there's a plot point that I really like. Have you thought of where you'd like to go? And is there a possibility this could ever continue in some sort of way?
So, without giving too much away, and I think it's slightly a divisive point in a way that I wanted to, and it's funny you mentioned Indiana Jones, because there's this idea that I've always felt, which is that from the opening of The Exorcist, you have this sense of they find something and then suddenly the evil's in the world. And I'm trying to sort of link up this idea of, like I say, at the time there was evil happening in the world on a scale that's never happened before in human history, and it was this idea that I've always been intrigued over wood, because we know that the Nazis were definitely into their kind of religious artifacts,
occults and
occults, and so I've lent into that. And we did speak with Sean about, wouldn't it be interesting for him to be on the search for Father Malachi and to continue it. I mean, everything, unfortunately, with parts. If I did do that, and I'm keen to, and Sean's keen to, it would be very much less of a sequel, more of just another story where we would go down that road together.
Continue, I do like universe.
Just the universe, but not as a sequel. Yeah, I mean, I like films when they do that. I liked that in what was the film recently? Split. I like it when they when you kind of have echoes of that. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, and I'm glad I got to talk to you about this, is Triangle. I've been showing that to my friends for years, and I've noticed that as time's gone on, Triangle has shown up in all the best movies you've ever seen lists. I think it's become far more acclaimed than it was when I rented it on DVD back in 2008. Is there ever a way for you? Can you tell what's going to be long lasting, what's going to be wide, what's going to be cult? Because something like that, I honestly think will grow and grow and grow the more people see I have to say, when we made that film, we felt even at script stage that we had something really, really special. And when we made the film, I really thought it would be a big hit in the cinema when we made it. And it kind of slightly just missed what I don't know whether it was the marketing. There's multiple little things about whether a movie gets into the zeitgeist at the time. It didn't, but it's since grown. It's interesting that the investors probably struggle to recoup on that film, if at all. But yet it's found its way onto YouTube, where some guys got rich off it posting it, and it's had something like 700,000 views on YouTube. So I'm just glad it's found an audience. It's a film that that sort of tortured me for 3 years in the making in terms of how to think of the solution to the story. It's a film I thought up, actually. I cooked up the initial twist when I was just after I'd made my first film, Creep, and probably wouldn't have been able to have made it until I'd made Severance in terms of the budget that we needed. But yeah, I'm thrilled and that it's found an audience. And I do think you have a hunch. I'm making a film now. I'm just shooting a film called Consecration, and I have to say I feel there is an influence of Triangle in that film. As I always felt that I wanted to explore the characters as much, if not more, than I did in
in Triangle. So, and I have to say, I don't want to touch wood too soon. I'm feeling something special's coming here. You do get a sense. We did with Severance as well, that we had something that had a good energy to it. Yeah.
Right.
But it's nice. It's really nice for me, because it's like a film that you don't quite get the thing you want after all the effort. You feel a little disappointed. I was lucky. I went straight on to Black Death. So just after I finished it, my head was completely in another one. But yeah, certainly it's a film I'm very, very proud of, for sure.
A film that's grown. So, well, I know that you got to get going. The Banishing comes out on VOD, digital, on demand, I think November 2nd, if I'm correct. November 2nd. So I'm hoping this is another film that'll grow. People should see it. And yeah, thank you for stopping by, man. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Lance. Cheers. Thanks very much.